Alright guys, so in this video we're checking out the iFlight Chimera7. So this is their newest 7-inch flagship long-range quad. And just off the bat, I gotta say that this is not going to be for everyone. This is for a very specific target audience. Folks that are looking for long, efficient flights and the ability to carry large batteries to, obtain those long flights for long distances. And, another thing is because of the complicated nature of this one, GPS rescue and all that, I don't think this is necessarily going to be for people that are beginner pilots. And this is not for racing or freestyle. So it's a very specific target audience. And this is one that I think a lot of people have been requesting for a while. I think their previous 7-inch frame, the HL7, I don't think it was that popular because of the way it was like a sort of H-style design. This sort of dead cat style for more long-range flights or longer flights for carrying more battery seems to be more popular. So let's get right into the specs and the frame here and all the parts. So this has 6mm individual arms, so very thick arms. They're not particularly super skinny, but they're very, very stiff. I mean, the frame doesn't bend easily at all. The bottom plates are 3mm thick, and it's a staggered bottom plate. So this portion here in the front, right here, which ends right there, is 3mm, and then there's a bottom portion that starts here on the bottom side of these arms and extends backwards here above or below the air unit, and then you have a pretty long 2mm top plate. So you have about 6 inches of basically space here, length for carrying batteries on top, or you could also carry batteries on the bottom as well here. So roughly a little bit longer here for the bottom if you want to bottom mount batteries, or you can do both, and yeah, that'll be kind of crazy. It'll be very heavy, but these motors are super big. So these are the new Zing 2806.5 1300 kV. So this is obviously a 6S setup. This motor is available, I think, in 1700 kV as well if you want to do 4S. But if you're doing these kind of long range flights, you definitely want to go with a 6S battery or some sort of 6S like lithium ion pack. Now I flew around with, I don't really have a lot of 6S packs, so I have this like 1300 6S. This is the biggest one I've got. I've got some 3300 6S lithium polymer packs coming from Owline, and I think I may have some Flywoo ones coming from like 6S lithium ion packs from Flywoo coming later. I obviously will try them out on this one at some point. So big motors, and I also have the this is not related to this video, but in another video I'll be talking about the T-motor version of this size of motor. It's like it's the same size, 2806.5 1300 kV. I have those as well, the F90s. That'll be in a separate video. I'll get into a discussion about why the bigger motors are better for something like this. Well, for one, you can carry more payload versus a smaller motor. So I know that there's going to be people saying, oh, you can just build a 7-inch with a smaller like 2207 motor, and you can definitely do that. It's just that you probably aren't going to have as an efficient flight or be able to carry as much versus a larger motor, but that's for another video. So the stack here, we have a F7 with twin gyros on here. So it's got the, not the MQ6000 gyros, but the other gyro, ICM 602 gyro. And then you have the 50 amp BLW 32 ESCs here. So these are 32-bit ESCs, so I believe that they have RPM filter enabled on this. And by the way, the PID tune on this is exceptional. I have had a hard time tuning 7-inch quads just in general, and they've done a pretty good job here. And I think it's running 4.2. It's got an RPM filter. They've tweaked it out. It's not a default Betaflight tune at all. So they've done a very good job of tweaking the tune. It works really well. It's very smooth, very few noticeable oscillations or bobbles. And even though I'm running a Hero 8 here, with Hypersmooth on. You can tell from the FPV feed here that basically doesn't exist. So the Hypersmooth isn't covering up very many flaws at all. And if you look at the flights for just the FPV feeds, you'll notice that it's very, very smooth and the tune's really good. So regarding all the various flights, because I know that people want to see footage from the Hero 8, the footage from the DJI system, I'm going to link all those as separate videos down in the description, because otherwise this would be probably like a 1 hour video, and yeah, those 1 hour videos don't do good on YouTube. So they're going to be all separated out, and if you want to know what those flights are, go down to the description and check them out. I did several flights and I have footage for both of these, so you guys can do all your comparisons based on that. Now this is running the obviously the DJI FPV system, and it's running the, I would say, the high end, or the better part of the better system, which is, in this case, you don't really need to worry about weight, so you might as well go for the full Air Unit and the dual antennas here in the back. So these are I think they're called Albatross antennas from iFlight. These are iFlight branded antennas. Extra long to clear the carbon frame, so when you're further away, your transmission is getting blocked by the frame or any of the batteries or anything like that. So these are obviously not standard stock antennas here for the Air Unit. And of course, you got these all SMA adapters that go to the MMCX connector here to the Air Unit. And I mean, just nice little touches. They got these little TPU parts here for putting on the antenna. These you obviously put on the antenna before you actually screw on the antenna, but these are included in the kit, as well as all these little extra parts here for holding the Air Unit, this TPU part here, and then one for the crossfire antenna in the back here, and the GPS unit. So it's just a BN180, I believe, is the GPS unit. It's not sure why they went with this tiny one, because you can definitely you can get a bigger one and probably get even more satellites, but getting a satellite lock on this one wasn't a problem. I was getting consistently well more than 10 to 12 satellites, sometimes as many as 15. But I have used other bigger GPS units in the back with, I think the BN, I think the 880, I think, is like about 4 times as large, or double the length and the width, and you can get, actually, it's got a bigger antenna, so you can get up to like 25 to 30 satellites. So I'm not exactly sure why they chose the smaller GPS unit. It is cheaper, but for something of this cost, I would have definitely suggested they upgrade that to a bigger one, because I think that it's worth it for something like this. So you can get more satellites, you get a much cleaner lock and everything like that. But anyway, that's a minor thing that I would fix, but not a big deal. And the other minor thing that I probably would fix is, they've got these, like I said, all these TPU parts here everywhere. It's nice, and it's very well put together. It's very nice and polished. The design is very nice. They got even these little arm bumpers here, in the back to protect the carbon, and then the arm bumpers are also act as feet. So when you land on some asphalt or concrete or anything like that, it's not going to scrape the bottom of the frame at all, unless of course you're running a bottom mounted battery. But the one thing that I wish they did have is some sort of TPU part here in the front, because if you are coming low to the ground like this, this is the first part that is going to hit down here, and that's going to scrape up on the ground here. So at this weight, it's not going to really add that much. That could be improved. And then I think the way that they've done the camera mounting here, they have some TPU parts here that do some jello vibration dampening, but it doesn't look like you can adjust the angle too much here based on the parts I see. So those are just some suggestions I have in terms of improving that. And of course, they have this little camera bumper here as well to protect the camera in case of any sort of direct hits. That's a part that it's included in the kit. You just have to add it on. It wasn't actually put on from the factory, but it comes in the bag with some of the other TPU parts, and you just add that on. Now the Hero, or the GoPro mounts here, they go on top. So they have these basically the GoPro style mounts here. It comes with a screw and a nut for adjusting the angle. And I'm not a huge fan of this, but they've done this in TPU instead of plastic. So this whole top part is going to bend, but it doesn't vibrate. So which is good. So It actually didn't have any issues with Jello or anything like that. But they have these various GoPro mounts available in, I think, for the 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So pretty much any GoPro except for the Session. I believe the Session is on their list. So if you go to the iFlight website, and if you purchase it from iFlight, you can get the different GoPro mounts from them. I don't know if the other stores will carry all of them, so you may have to buy it separately from iFlight if you're going to buy this from some of the stores. Obviously, this will be available at Banggood and Race Day Quads. It is quite pricey, $500. So again, this is not for your typical, beginner budget-oriented pilot. This is for a very specific type of pilot looking for a specific type of flying, usually like kind of in remote areas, maybe to get some more cinematic footage, longer range flights, that kind of stuff. Mountain surfing, I think that's pretty popular with a lot of pilots that fly something like this. And in general, most people that are doing this kind of flying, they are very knowledgeable anyway, and so they kind of know how to put these things together themselves. However, if maybe you are already fairly knowledgeable, but you don't want to necessarily build it yourself and just want to get something out of the box that's pretty much ready to go, and this is top spec stuff here. It's going to fly pretty good for you and get the footage you want without having to source all the parts in, build it and put it together, test it, all that kind of stuff, and it'll just come with a good tune. Now, like the Chimera 4, this one does not have GPS rescue set up out of the box. They do include a piece of paper in the box here that explains what to do to set it up. Okay, so here it is. This is the documentation. It basically explains that it's not set up completely by default. It's actually set up to just drop. So if you don't set up anything in a failsafe, it will just drop to the ground. That's how a normal failsafe should work. So basically, you need to set up your GPS rescue switch on your transmitter. It explains here you got to go to expert mode, and basically at that point, go to the failsafe tab and enable the GPS rescue on a switch to set a channel value for that, and also enable GPS rescue in the failsafe tab to be the failsafe option when a failsafe occurs. And I have a video on how to actually set this up if you don't know how to, in a little more detail. It's actually set up for a different quad, the Sector 5, which is basically the same sort of deal. It's the way GPS rescue works on Betaflight is going to be the same regardless of the model of quad you have, because it's Betaflight, so it's a standard. So I'll link that video down in the description as well. You can follow those instructions on how to set it up properly, because you just basically have to make sure that the stuff that's set up for your transmitter for the modes and the GPS rescue being enabled is all sort of coordinated. So I'll link that video down in the description if you want to know how to set up your drone properly. Now, one thing that, another thing that they are missing here, they do have a buzzer, but they don't have one of those buzzers that have a battery. So if there is a battery ejection, then you won't be able to enable the buzzer, or you won't be able to hear it beep. So that's one thing that I wish they did have, and I think that they should probably change, because if you do crash to somewhere kind of remote, in a remote area, and it's kind of hard to find, you're going to want a buzzer that has a battery backup in case your battery gets ejected, or the flight pack dies while you're looking for it. And there's a number of ones out there. I have some videos on various buzzers with battery backups on them, and I'll link them down in the description. You can basically just swap out this buzzer for the other one with the battery, and it'll work to basically find your lost model in case of a crash and your flight pack is dead. Because once your flight pack is dead or dead, the buzzer that's on board here isn't going to work. Okay, so I think it's going to cover everything on here on the Chimera7. Again, I'm going to link all of the various flights down in the description. I've already probably played some various flight footage already in picture-in-picture mode in smaller format. So if you want to watch any of that stuff in 4K, go down in the description, or larger resolution, full screen resolution, go down in the description, and all those flights will be down there, so you can check them out and make sure you can see how this thing performs. It is a very solid product overall. It is very expensive, but very well put together. I think it's well worth the money considering what you get for the price. Anyway, it's going to do it for this video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.